Let's wrap things up with the New York Giants, and their training camp has been going underway with new head coach Brian Daboll leading the way. The former offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills is bringing a whole new regime to New York with Daniel Jones, Kenny Golladay, their two top 10 picks in Evan Neal and Kayvon Thibodeau. This team on paper doesn't look that bad. I'm going to say right now, the New York Giants on paper do not look that bad. They're still a young, promising team, but Brian Daboll takes over, brings in his offense, brings in his schemes. What does that new offense look like, and how does that affect Daniel Jones and these pass catchers for the New York Giants?
Yeah, I believe Kenny Golladay said it best. He said this offense is wide receiver friendly. Well, yeah, it's wide receiver friendly. You remember when he was in Buffalo, they ran the ball 0 times and a half? Yeah, of course it's wide receiver friendly when your quarterback is dropping back that many times. I don't anticipate that to be the case when you got a Saquon Barkley behind you and you got Daniel Jones at quarterback. But to his point, I think it's fair. I think Kenny Golladay, I think Wendell Robinson, I think a Kadarius Toney, a Sterling Shepard, those guys are going to get ample opportunity to show out and help Daniel Jones develop. This is it for Daniel Jones. So he has one opportunity to make light of, hey, I'm an NFL quarterback. I belong here. I should get that contract extension. Brian Daboll is going to give him every opportunity. And I mentioned this before. Daniel Jones is a big-bodied, athletic, strong-armed quarterback. Well, Brian Daboll just had that in Josh Allen. Is Daniel Jones Josh Allen? No, but I think there are some similarities and things he can do with him that is going to be comfortable for that offense. So I look for them to get the wide receivers involved early, but I do think he's going to lean on Saquon Barkley. Barkley talked about him feeling like the best shape of his career, and I know we hear this every year with players, but it's a year removed from the ACL injury. We talked about sometimes how long that takes, and I know he had lingering stuff. I think he is going to be more explosive this year as long as he can stay healthy, and that is going to help the Giants. And we talked about the offensive line. For years, this offensive line just let Daniel Jones down. They didn't do anything to help develop Daniel Jones, and now they're kind of dealing with the repercussions of that. Well, they went out and addressed it. They drafted Evan Neal. They go out and get a John Feliciano, a Mark Lewinsky. These guys are Andrew Thomas has developed. These guys are going to help shape what Daniel Jones is able to do in this offense. And I think Brian Daboll will do a good job in getting that started. The biggest problem for the Giants is going to be putting it all together because they do have a lot of intriguing pieces, as you mentioned. Like, it doesn't look bad on paper. All the pieces they added, Kayvon Thibodeau, Leonard Williams is there. Defense still strong, even though they lose the corner, James Bradbury. Yeah, even though they lose him, they still got an Adoree Jackson and Xavier McKinney in that back end. So it's intriguing, but is it going to translate to wins? And I think that's where we're kind of looking to see Brian Daboll take that offense to the next level with Daniel Jones.
I'm not sure if this is a common thing in training camps, but I did hear the other day about how Xavier McKinney and Daniel Jones have been calling the plays for the offense and the defense during training camp. They have been like, there's been certain times in camp where they'll go a whole series and Xavier McKinney will be calling the plays on defense, going head to head, calling the plays on offense of Daniel Jones. Like, I thought that was really cool. I don't know if that's Xavier McKinney was talking about how Brian Daboll has been giving them power, like control, basically, to call the plays, to physically call the plays on defense and offense for Dan, and then Daniel Jones does it for offense, and they basically go head to head between offense and defense with the Xavier McKinney called plays and the Daniel Jones type plays. I'm not sure if that is a common thing with other training camps in the NFL, but I thought that was very cool. And
it's common when you got quarterbacks like Matt Ryan, Peyton Manning. It's not common when your quarterback sucks as bad as Daniel Jones to give him that kind of power.
Maybe that's a good thing, because there was the other things I was seeing about this new regime in New York and talking with Daniel Jones, and they're letting him, almost like what you said the other day about Trey Lance, about what the San Francisco 49ers need to do with Trey Lance. They need to let him fail. They need to have him be able to learn. And I know Daniel Jones has had plenty of time to fail and learn.
For 3 straight years.
He has, but this is under the new system here, to where, okay, they'll let him fail and then have him go through the building process with Brian Daboll. And I think this is the perfect situation for Brian Daboll with Daniel Jones. And if he fails, then the Giants are primed to have a good team around whatever quarterback they draft next year. Yeah, if he succeeds, then they have their franchise quarterback in Daniel Jones, and they can continue moving forward in the right direction. I think everything is in place for the New York Giants to start taking the right steps, whether it's they suck this year, but then they get their franchise quarterback, or they already have their franchise quarterback, and then they can start moving towards battling for the NFC East. I think it's a good situation in New York for Brian Daboll.
I guess I would just worry about the point where you mentioned like giving him leeway to let him fail like a Trey Lance. Like he doesn't have the time to do that because he's not in a situation where he's under contract for some lengthy period of time. If he fails this year, he is not a New York Giant. So what kind of service are you doing for him to say, go out and figure it out? We will adjust as we go. And then come week 7, 8, you suck. And there's no time for that adjustment. He's out the door at the end of the season. So if you want to develop this guy, you have to start from day one developing him, not allowing him to make those mistakes on his own. You have to say, this is what we're trying to do with you. If you want to get to the next level, these are the things you have to do, because otherwise you're wasting a season. And I get it. They're going to draft a guy next year anyways, but what is the point of having Daniel Jones? You might as well just stick in Sam Howell and do that. And then you'll know if you got a future quarterback and don't have to waste a first.
They don't have Sam Howell. They have Tyrod Taylor, though. The Giants didn't draft Sam Howell, though, did they?
Oh, yeah. I forgot that he's on the Washington.
That's the man. Well, we will see Sam Howell.
Well, to that point, I mean, yeah, it's not a rookie, but I'd rather bring Tyrod Taylor and say, we're going to try to win this year. Like, I don't want to watch Daniel Jones, hey, go sink or swim, and we'll adjust as we go because we want to give you the free reins because you've failed all these years. Like, I think Brian Daboll has to rein him in and say, these are the things you need to do as a quarterback to be successful in the NFL. If you can't do them for me, you're not going to be here. I don't need him to say, hey, you know what? Go show me what you can do, and we'll decide what we're going to do with you at the end of the year. It's not why Brian Daboll's there. He's there to fix Daniel Jones.
To figure it all out. Figure it all out, and if it goes wrong, Bryce Young or CJ Stroud no faith in Danny Dimes.
I don't have faith that the New York Giants are going to win enough games to force them to keep Daniel Jones. I'm not saying he's going to play like crap because I've actually grown to like Daniel Jones. Like, I think the skill set is something that could be molded into something great. I don't know who's going to do it, but I don't think the time is going to be there this season for Daboll to install that offense, get Daniel Jones on board with that team, and it's going to translate into enough wins to where at the end of the season they say, you know what, we're going to bring Daniel Jones back again. I don't see that. Like, what does a record look like this year for Daniel Jones in order for them to bring him back?
We got a loss to the Titans. A lot.
We're going deep, baby. We're going deep.
Yeah, I did this for this to end the show on this note. This is what we do here. We got a loss to the Titans, toss up against the Panthers, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, we can give them basically every toss up game if you want to give it to them. That would be the best.
Okay, so 1-1, 1-2, 2-2, 2-3, 2-4.
I know. I'll let you make that call.
2-5, 2-6. I can't see them going on the road to Seattle and winning. So that's 2-6. I'll give them 3-6 after the bye.
Give them 4-6. I don't believe they'll beat Detroit, but they're at home. Give them 4-6.
4-6.
Lose to Dallas.
4-7.
They'll split with Washington and Philly. Just say that.
So 4-8, 4-8, 4-9, 5-9, 5-10, 5-11, and 6-11. So 6-11 with Danny Dimes.
That's giving them basically the toss-up games, maybe except for the Jaguars game that you didn't give them. Maybe they go 7-10. 8-9 is a great season for them. That's what we'd be talking about. Are you saying, you know what, we're going to pick up your fifth-year option, Daniel Jones?
I think it depends on how he plays, though. I don't think you could say I don't think you could say, because just for what you said at the beginning of this whole talk about Daniel Jones and Brian Daboll, the comparison between Daniel Jones and Josh Allen and having Brian Daboll come in. I mean, what has been the Giants' records for the past few years? I mean, they haven't been. I mean, 7-9 is an upgrade from what they have been. So
well, yeah, they were 3-9, 5-9, 4-7. So they go 7. So they go 7-10. Daniel Jones goes 24 touchdowns to 12 interceptions. You picking up the fifth option? It's the same touchdown to interception ratio they had as a rookie.
I think I am.
Oh,
I think I am.
Come on.
Because if you think about it, though, if they're 7-10, their draft position might not even be in a position where you're going to be able to get one of the. I mean, if you look at this draft class, we've gone really deep on this Giants talk, by the way, way deeper than I thought we would go. But I mean, you look at this draft class. I mean, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, and obviously the names come out of the woodworks during the season, and I don't think that they're going to be in at 7-10. I don't think that they have a chance to get Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. Although with only a few teams needing a quarterback this draft, maybe they do end up trading up or finding a way to have one of those guys. I don't know, man. I just cannot see a way if they go 7-10, and if Daniel Jones is just, I think if Daniel Jones is just average to slightly above average, I think
7-10 was a top 12 pick. Yes, this year.
7-10 was a top 10 pick this year. Yes, correct.
I mean,
man, it's tough. It's tough. I give me the.
I'm not paying Daniel Jones unless he's pushing for a playoff spot. And then it's still close. It's very similar to the Baker Mayfield conversation, because at the end of the day, this is not about whether Daniel Jones can play in the NFL. Do I think he can play? Sure. Do I think he can go start for some team, mediocre team, and win some games and lose some? Sure. The NFL is about finding the guy that is going to take you to championships. You're talking about a quarterback that would have now been in the league 4 years. His improvement that we've seen, the jump, the big leap that we've been looking for, is going 7-10 with the 24 touchdown to 12 interception ratio. I'm sorry. That is not going to get the Giants to the Super Bowl.
What about the money? Is that another factor that would say, okay, because you have to pay him that fifth-year option. Is that fifth-year option like a big hit to their cap to where like it would put them in a shittier spot, or is it like an okay?
Baker's was 18.
Yeah, that's fair.
Think about it. Baker's was 18.
I just want to look this up, and this can be the wrap up on everything here with the Giants. But I mean, if the Giants, let's say the Giants have pick 10 in the draft, you can't imagine Bryce Young and CJ Stroud are there, right?
Oh, maybe.
So,
maybe not.
So the next best quarterback, Spencer Rattler, quarterback out of South Carolina.
Anybody that's projected in the top 20 picks as a quarterback, I'm targeting. And there's supposed to be like six. Jones. I think it's supposed to be like 6 guys next year, right?
So the list that I have here: Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Spencer Rattler, Jaron Hall from BYU, Anthony Richardson from Florida, Will Levis from Kentucky, Jake Haener from Fresno State, Tyler Van Dyke from Miami, Grayson McCall from Coastal Carolina, and Hendon Hooker from Tennessee are the top 10 quarterbacks based on from the site that I'm on. But either way, though, I guess you could take your shot and start you. And again, the other point that you could bring up with Daniel Jones here is that there is no investment there's nothing tied to Daniel Jones with Brian Daboll. He could start fresh with this new quarterback, whoever that may be in this draft class. Maybe you don't give him the 5th-year option. Maybe you can.
I would imagine there's going to be 3 to 4 quarterbacks taken in the top 10 next year. That includes probably Cam Ward, Anthony Richardson, who I don't even think you had Cam Ward on the list.
I didn't have that. He wasn't on this top 10 quarterbacks list.
So Cam Ward, Anthony Richardson, guys like that, I believe are going to go in the top 10. So that's 4 in the top 10, probably 6 in the first round altogether. I think if you're the Giants, you're taking a quarterback. Like, I don't think there's a question mark. He has to be so special this year that if a Will Levis at 20 is not intriguing you enough to say, you know what, I'd rather have Will Levis. Even if we finished 7-10 and we got the 18th pick in the draft, I'd rather take a Will Levis than a Daniel Jones and do this all over again and have the same question year 5. Because you pick up the option, guess what happens? You're in another bridge year where you say, show us again, and then maybe the quarterback class isn't as good.
And we didn't. Well, one player we didn't mention, Jimmy Garoppolo.
Giants.
All right.
He's not going to the Giants. He's not going to the Giants.
Wait, I had the weirdest. It was the strangest dream. I swear to God, this actually happened. I dreamt of a Jimmy Garoppolo trade. And you know where he ended up? The Houston Texans. I don't see that ever happening. Wild dream, but I'm very upset that I dreamt of a Jimmy Garoppolo trade that my life is now surrounded by. It's just this.
Jimmy G's going back to New England. Ooh. Bill Belichick's going to bring Jimmy G back and bench Mac Jones.
What a turn!
I know that's 2 days in a row I've had Mac Jones bench. One for Bailey Zappi and the other one for Jimmy Garoppolo. But
we're just building. You know what we're building to? We're building to those bold predictions that are going to start coming next week, the week after that, because we're kicking into full gear with our football coverage. You are not going to want to be anywhere else.